Hi, Christine. Hi. My name is Dayun, and I'm a South Korean intern in OWN Academy, and we're so happy and grateful to have you in our own future fair.
Hi, Dayun. Great to be here.
So I heard that you're a program manager in Facebook. Would you talk about your background more in depth and what kind of job program manager is about?
Yeah, sure. So, a little bit more about me and my background. I graduated from Iowa State University with a civil engineering degree in the middle of the United States. I also studied Spanish language as well. I was able to do 2 exchange programs throughout my college career, which I highly recommend to anyone who has the opportunity. I did a semester abroad in Singapore and also an internship at Permis Lisa, which is also located in Singapore. And then I also did a semester abroad in Spain and did an internship at Intramac. And so highly recommend if you are able to investigate what study abroad programs you have. All the companies that I had talked to afterwards were very impressed that I had global experiences even before entering the workforce. And so there are opportunities out there, take advantage of them. And then this is just a map of showing where I've lived and moving around. So again, started in the middle of the United States, just farmland, not too much there. Moved to Seattle, Washington for Boeing, and then moved to Apple in California. And then now I'm currently at Facebook in Singapore. A little bit more about me personally. I am married and have 2 daughters. They are almost 2 and 4. And we love traveling, exploring nature. We've been in Singapore for about a year now, and we've loved exploring all the local parks, but we are itching and excited to explore all that Southeast Asia has to offer. And then a little bit more about my work experience. So currently, again, I'm at Facebook. I'm a technical program manager in the business integrity organization. And so what that means is we have an ads review system. And so all the ads on Facebook that you see ads on Facebook and Instagram, they go through review. And my team works on the platform, the review platform that our human reviewers use to make sure that all of the ads that our users are seeing are safe and meet our policies. Previously, before Facebook, I was at Apple as an engineering program manager. I was also working as a color and materials program manager. These are some of the projects that I shipped, and it's so fun to see them out in the real world and people using them every day. I also I was in the soft goods organization, so the accessories area for the Apple products. And so being able to work on MacBook sleeves, iPhone cases, watch bands, as well as the recently released MagSafe wallet. And then prior to Apple, I was also at Boeing. I started again as a product design engineer, so more on the mechanical structures side of engineering. And then from there, moved to a project manager role within Boeing because I realized that I liked more of the broader approach versus the technical deep dive. And then my team that I worked on at Boeing, we owned the galleys and the new features of the airlines. So airlines could request custom bar units, custom first class suites. And so I was able to work on that, which was pretty neat.
It sounds like you've done like really a lot of interesting projects. What kind of program management, like what kind of tasks, responsibilities do you have?
Yeah, program management is definitely a unique skill or a unique role, I would say. It's not very common in APAC region right now. I would say it's more heavily noticed and more utilized in North America. And it's totally different at every company. And I'll share a little bit more about that later on. But because I've been doing program management at Facebook, Apple, and Boeing now. And so it's slightly different. And then even between teams is also very different. But I would say the main responsibilities are lead, motivating, and influencing. So really being able to call on your soft skills that you've learned throughout college and career of just being able to lead a team to one common goal. And also communication is huge, being a good communicator, being able to communicate clearly, often, over communicate widely, use all the different methods, email, text, in person, call, every single form of communication. Being able to identify and establish clear program goals and outcomes. And so as the program manager, you're responsible for that program and making sure that it is successful And so owning all aspects of it, whether it's schedule, requirements, resources, priorities, cross-functional relationships. So really being able to see who your upstream and downstream customers are. So am I getting information from someone? Am I making sure that that's accurate and I'm getting it on time? And also who's my downstream customers of who's impacted by the decisions that I'm making today, and being able to clearly communicate those and make those aware as soon as possible. And then risk management and mitigation, removing any roadblocks, whether people are blocked by lack of information, people out of office, whatever it may be, being able to address those quickly. And then again, ensuring program success, and then going more broad versus not as deep. And so again, you have kind of, you're wearing all different hats, kind of have a hand in everything versus having specific, really technical priorities.
It seems like you've done so many experiences, and you've took on a lot of important responsibilities. And I think many of us would be curious of what kind of skills or what kind of tips you've used to build up such an admirable career. Do you have lessons to share to us?
Yeah, sure, definitely. There's some, I'll go into a little bit more of like how I got to where I am today.
Okay.
But tips also for a program manager, I would say is if you find yourself like throughout college, you have to do a lot of teamwork, team projects, and different things like that, where you don't get to choose your team. So a lot of times it's like random classmates. If you find yourself feeling like you want to take that leadership position and be able to help delegate different tasks to people, then program management might be something that you're interested in a long-term career path. But just being able to see that within yourself and being able to recognize that is also a good skill. And then going into some of the tips that I've been able to get to where I am today, I wanted to share just some interview tips that I have that I've learned throughout my career. Again, since I've had to jump around, I've chosen to jump around from company to company for new opportunities. And so I've had to interview not only as a new college grad, but also as a mid-career. And so the first tip is always just believe in yourself, take a breath. It's always so hard. Interviews are stressful and you are nervous. Everyone's nervous. Try to answer confidently because your voice really matters. The interviewer can tell if you're confident in something and not. And so being able to really just be bold and speak confidently is huge. And what helps me with that a lot is just mock interviews with other people. Because if you don't practice, then it will show. and practicing in front of like a screen, in front of the mirror, is totally different than practicing with someone else. So even if it's your sister, your brother, your friend, or a mentor, whoever it may be, being able to do some mock interviews with other people is huge and can set you up for success. And I think many people have heard about the STAR method for behavioral questions. But I've been learning that a lot of interviewers and companies like the STAR plus L, which is situation. So again, describing the situation, what happened, describe the task that you're trying to accomplish, describe the action that you took for that behavioral question. And behavioral questions are things about like, tell me about a time when. So the actions that you took specifically, not the actions that the team took, but what did you do as a person in this situation? And then what were the results of that situation? But then the L portion that I think misses a lot, that people miss a lot, is what did you learn from that situation and how would you prevent it in the future? And so really being able to self-reflect on how did that situation go? What did you learn from it? What will you take away from it? And what did you do to avoid it in the future? Did you document things? Did you set up a better relationship with that person, with that team to make it better and improve it? But really being able to highlight those two last things. What did you learn and how could you prevent the situation in the future? Those show to the interviewer and to the company that you are continually growing and continually looking to be the better version of yourself. And then lastly, it's okay to not know anything. It's okay to not know something, but don't pretend like you know it because that's way worse. So it's totally fine to admit to the interviewer that you don't know you don't know, or you don't have an experience to answer that specific question. And so you can answer it though, in still the sense of like hypothetically, or here's what I'm thinking, because the interviewer still wants to know how you would respond in that situation, or what do you know? If it's not that exact topic, what's something similar that you've been learning? And so just being able to call that out and recognize it in yourself. So a first few tips are be patient with yourself. And again, it's okay to not know everything. Something that I learned first day on the job is that I was really nervous for my first internship, not even my first career job. I was really nervous that the team was going to expect me to know how to do something, or know like that I knew what I was doing. However, it was very reassuring to me that no one expected me to know the specifics, because they were ready to train me and show me how to do the job and the expectations that they were having me do. And so that was great. I felt like a weight was lifted off my shoulders, because I didn't have to like madly prepare. It's not like preparing for an exam, preparing for your first day of job, but just being able to, just be curious and ask a lot of questions, and being able to, just ask so many questions, because there's so much to learn, especially in a new job. And then also what I've learned is expanding your network and establishing your reputation. So expanding your network is huge. Just being able to know who to contact for different things, and also like throughout your career, being able to call on those network is huge also. And then establishing your reputation, really thinking about what do you want to be known for? Do you want to be known for as a technical subject matter expert? Do you want to be known for someone who is resourceful and knows exactly where to go? Do you want to be known for getting your work done? It's hard to be all of those things. And so really being able to figure out kind of what you want to be known for, what's your brand, and then being able to really strengthen that area as well. And then just two more things really quick is finding a mentor. So someone you can ask questions to and take advantage of this person. Just really understanding what's the norms within the team. Every team is different. Every group of people is different. And so really understanding the team dynamics. How do meetings work? Working with this particular manager. How do we chat with each other? Is the team like to chat about only work stuff, also personal life? Just really understanding how you can fit into this team, because you're new to this team. You don't want to necessarily stick out like a sore thumb like you already are. You want to, blend in and have a smooth transition. And so learning as much as possible, at least in my experience, of how the current team is run has been really helpful. And then also learning what are the career options at the company. So usually there's a technical path and there's a management path or a leadership path. And so learning about those different opportunities, what's within the company, what's within this particular team, and just learning about long-term goals and opportunities and how to get there. And then also review cycles are huge too, because as a college student, I never knew about this. And I feel like this was a big lesson learned for me of just learning how different review cycles are conducted. And what a review cycle is usually every 6 months or every annually. So every year, this is the time when companies look at salary raises, promotions, and feedback from other people. And so really being able to talk to this mentor person on how to be successful for that, to set you up for success, whether it's, sometimes people will say that you have to start documenting all of your accomplishments from day one, just so you can be able to easily refer back to those later on, or establish good relationships with 3 key people, because you're going to have to ask them for peer feedback later. Coming in as humble and willing to learn instead of coming in thinking that you know everything, because obviously there's always so much to learn. But being able to really, come in humbly and ask for advice or ask for lessons learned, best practices from other people. And that's what, that's
so thankful to hear about all your tips, realistic tips that we can apply. So now that we know how you got your careers and built upon and developed yourself, I want to know more about how you do the job that you're doing now. Like what kind of tools that you use and what kind of tasks you're doing now. Could you explain more about that, please?
Yeah, sure. So every company, again, I've worked at Facebook, Apple, and Boeing. Each company does things differently. And so at Facebook, we use Workplace, which is basically Facebook for work. And you can see in this graphic, you have a news feed like you do for regular Facebook, and you can subscribe to different groups, whether it's for your own personal team, or it's side groups like community volunteering that you can see here. And you're able to have newsfeed based on like project updates or social events as well. And so it's really neat to be able to use this tool. And then for my role at Facebook, I've, as a technical program manager, so again, I was hardware, and then at Facebook, I'm more in the software side.
Mhm.
And so software is a little bit different, where usually there's no hard deadlines, because like for example, at Apple, I'm shipping a product, I need to make it available worldwide. Whereas software, I'm pushing out code, I'm pushing out a new UI. And of course we have target deadlines, but it's not as strict. And so for the role here at Facebook, a heavy part of it is road mapping, which is prioritizing projects for that quarter or half. And so we basically have a project intake file from all of our partners, from all of the different teams that we work with.
Mhm.
And they basically say, hey, can we call on your team to help us make this new widget, or change this UI, the user interface on our platform, or can you fix this bug, whatever it may be. We have hundreds of different project requests from our partners. And then as the TPM, the technical program manager, I look at the priority of the task, the impact level, and the level of effort. And based on all of these different things and knowing my constraints and resources, I have to prioritize which projects to work on.
Mm.
And so I work with other technical program managers, but we figure out which projects are above the line. So which ones are going to be prioritized and worked on, and which ones are below the line, which ones we are not able to work on based on time constraints. And always there's more project requests than people available. So unfortunately, there are always projects that cannot get done in that time zone. And so then next quarter, they might ask again. And then throughout the quarter, I will also I'll manage 2 to 3 programs in depth. And what that means is, again, kind of going back to what I was saying earlier, but I'm responsible for program success and program progression, making sure that we stay on track, weekly meetings with the team and things like that. And then at Apple, a little bit more about what I was doing there was, and so the tools that we use also, so at Apple, we used only Apple Suite, which was a big learning curve for me. I had to learn how to use Apple Mail, Apple Calendar. I had to learn how to use Apple Suite of Keynote, Numbers, and Pages. So all those different tools. I was personally used to Microsoft Office. And so being able to learn these different tools was a learning curve, but I was, again, given all the tools that I needed to succeed. And then my specific role at Apple was, it's very different from a program manager perspective because it's hardware. At Facebook, I am looking at hundreds of different project requests, whereas at Apple, I'm owning one project or one program from start to finish. And so the latest product that I fully shipped was the iPhone 11 leather phone case. And I was responsible for prototype builds, cross-functional testing, making sure that we have a viable design that meets all of our specifications and requirements. I was responsible for schedule, our master issue list, vendor relationships. So we work with tons of different vendors for all of the pieces within that make up this part. And so really managing those relationships was a big one also. I owned executive updates, program progression, and success. So similar, again, where it's leading the team, program progression, success, roadblocks, all that. And then here's just a picture of how to build and make a phone case. And then again, something just to high level to show is our master issue list that we always use is basically just a risk and mitigation plan. So these are the upcoming risks that we foresee, and here's how we're going to address them. And again, we're communicating it throughout the whole program to everyone, whoever will hear, because it's way better to hear about a potential risk early on versus like hearing about a fire the day of. And so I've learned that a lot too, of just, again, communication, trying to overly communicate like, hey, this is a potential impact. We don't know anything now. It's nothing now, but it could be. And then when it comes, it's like, yeah, remember I told you about that every day for the last month. Again, versus like this random out of nowhere, this new fire that came up. And so I was responsible for this, just really seeing, okay, what's the issue? Is it trending up? Is it trending down? what's the details of it, what are the next steps that we're going to do to try to reduce this risk or make it go away, who is actually owning this, and what's the checkpoint. And so something that I've learned also is every single task or deliverable that I either assign or someone else is doing, you really need to make sure that there's a point of contact. So who's actually doing it, and then what's their checkpoint. You don't have to have a closeout date for when it will be accomplished and finished, but when's the next time this person will have an update? Is it in 2 days from now? Is it early next week? Even though the task may not complete for 2 more months, but when's the next time to make sure that, again, this program progression is still being tracked. And then lastly, at Boeing, again, the tools that I used here was Microsoft Office, and we used email a lot. Our meeting length here was actually 60 minutes, which seems very long now after having 30 minutes be the norm at Apple and Facebook. But what I was doing here as a payloads engineer, which is the interiors engineer, I was working with airlines, vendors, and configurators. So what that means is I was working with airlines, and then the vendor was, for example, we had vendors all over the world that built and delivered like the galley areas, the kitchen areas of the airplane. And then our Boeing configurator, which he was kind of like the program manager, where he saw the entire plane and was keeping track of everything. Whereas I was the galley engineer, again, so more technical, more specific, before I became a program manager. There's just a lot of differences. Every company is different, and you can take general lessons learned, I guess, to apply to every company, and just learning how that company does things and how to be successful there.
It feels like every experience really built you to become better and better in your next step of careers. Thanks so much for sharing us so much useful information and tips. Thank you so much, Christine.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.